I think we're live.
We are.
Are we?
Welcome, everyone, to a special edition. My name is Amos Joseph, joined by my co host, Brook Potter, and this is the special 10K Rum podcast,
Yes, it is.
87. So we decided we wanted to do a special show today about Picard,
Picard.
our favorite show of the year.
Yes, something like that.
Fucking A.
I'm
So
not sure how
anyone who
long we can discuss Picard, but let's see what we can do, man. This should be fun.
Yeah, we might go talk about something else, but excuse me.
Ooh.
No, I don't have it. No, I don't have
You
it.
sure?
Anyone who hasn't been, I guess, been catching up on some of our shows, we've been talking somewhat weekly about the upcoming episodes of Star Trek Picard, the new spin-off show that was Patrick Stewart came out, took part in, where it was taking place, 20 years after the end of Star Trek Nemesis. Yeah. Basically follows a storyline where, and again, for everyone watching, this is a spoilers alert if anyone really cares. I mean, it's
it's all over now. The first season is out.
Yeah.
You know, if you haven't followed it,
So basically, Picard had become an admiral and all that, and he's essentially now retired, and he lives at his vineyard in France.
Yes.
Funny how a British actor with a British accent is French. Okay. Anyways, I mean,
no. You're missing the elephant in the room, which is how is it that Irish actors are suddenly Romulans? But that's a whole other story. We'll have to get to that.
Yeah, that's funny. That was a weird one too. So, you kind of figure out, and I said they actually address this in what's called the short treks. So there was short treks. So short treks were like short films of Star Trek canon done after Discovery. And one of them had to do with the attack on Mars.
Oh, yeah. I remember there was something about that. I never saw it. It was...
Yeah, I mean, they had some really dumb ones. Like, they had the one where there was the woman who was promoted to captain by Pike, and she just had the really shitty attitude towards that awkward crewman that she had. Like, it was just a bunch of women bashing the man episode.
Okay. That seems to be a common theme of Kurtzman Trek, but
anyways, so basically the events after Nemesis is, Picard becomes an admiral. The events of the Star Trek the 2009 Star Trek movie reboot, where Spock comes to the past from the future, where Romulus
ship, yeah.
Well, yeah, Romulus, the home planet of the Romulans, was about to be destroyed by a supernova.
Yes.
That happens anyways. And, excuse me, in Picard, Picard was, knowing this, was taking part in one of the biggest efforts to basically evacuate all of the Romulans. They were leading an effort to build, literally tens of thousands of ships to get them off the planet.
Yes.
It was going to be this huge rescue effort, and then probably was going to have, of course, a huge effect on the relations between the Federation and the Romulans.
Yes.
On Mars, on the Mars shipyards where they were making the ships, androids went nuts.
Yes.
The androids they had employed there killed everyone and destroyed the shipyards.
Yes.
So Picard wanted to continue the effort. The Federation didn't believe it was worth it. He said he would threaten to resign if they didn't continue. They said, okay, resign.
Yeah.
And so the first episode begins with him having an interview with some Federation news service where he criticizes them for this.
Yes.
Then he learns.
I mean, are we going to be recapping the entire series or
No. I mean, so then this is kind of leading into it. So then he has this whole discovers some whole plot about Romulans, something about Data, androids, Bruce Maddox, which is the guy who wanted to create clones of Data in one of the Next Generation episodes. Kind of leads him down this whole path of ragtag group of people, ships, shitty, acting, bad plot, weird member berries moments.
Lots and lots of member berries, yeah.
To kind of keep you just interested enough. I mean, there were a lot of little things to kind of like, ooh, they said that. Ooh, they said this. Ooh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, but there was also a lot of like, oh my god, they said that. Oh my god, they did this. Oh my god.
Oh, I mean, there was the swearing part, which was kind of weird.
That was so out of context. Like just the random F-bombs.
The sheer fucking hubris, right?
Yeah, I mean, in the last episode, did you see the XP? Did you fuck any of them? I was like, what is this? This, I thought humanity and the space age had like evolved past this nonsense. They're basically us with better technology. It's kind of shit, but we'll get to that.
I mean, I remember if you watch Next Generation and stuff, there were a couple times they would say, I know in Enterprise, a couple times someone called someone a son of a bitch. I think son of a bitch is like a weird one that can slip by the censors.
Right.
I think that's been said maybe once or twice in Next Generation.
Sure.
In the movie Star Trek Generations, the one where they're it's the last movie they had on the Enterprise C.
Yeah.
No, Enterprise D. There's the scene because Data got the emotion chip and they're crashing towards the planet, and he goes, "Oh shit."
Yeah. I remember that. But again, that fit the narrative of what was going on.
Yeah, I mean, in the movie, they can kind of push a little bit, kind of flex outside of regular character parameters just a little.
Yes,
make it interesting.
I mean, the way they did it in the series, it was just like shock value. Everything was shock value.
Oh, did you fuck this one? Did you fuck that one?
Fuck. It was just like F-bombs all over the
place. Just bam, bam, bam.
And random sex for no apparent reason that had nothing to do with the story, which again was something that irritated me tremendously.
I mean, if they had to do that, I mean, at least show a tit. Come on.
It's CBS, bro. It's not going to happen.
But it's a
subscription. I mean, I would not complain at a little more.
Like if they're gonna drop an F-bomb, why couldn't they do other things?
Yeah, again. Like I keep saying, it's a very bad Battlestar Galactica because Battlestar Galactica did all of this better.
What the frack?
Well, yeah, back then they used to call it frack. That was the word. But all the sex and the grittiness and the human politics and the cybernetics trying to take over humanity, it's Battlestar Galactica. That's what the fucking thing is.
And I showed you some of the video clips of like the ripoffs from Mass Effect, the video game.
Yes, exactly.
There was ripoffs. They even like some of their footage, some of their like CGI like stuff. Someone said looked like some stock footage you could find on the internet. I'm like, oh shit.
All right. Let's bring it in a little bit. So now that you've seen all 10 episodes, what do you feel about the series as a whole?
5.5 out of 10.
5.5 out of 10. I think that's a little generous. I'd probably knock it down to like a 3.5, but I get your sentiment. It wasn't great. It wasn't as bad as Star Trek Discovery, which I think is the low bar of the Star Trek universe as the STD. And that's but you see, I'm not as big a Star Trek fan as you, so you automatically add, 1.5. So I will automatically deduct that.
I mean, if you had to rank the bottom shows, like from the bottom up, it's Discovery,
yes,
Picard,
yes,
then the original series for me, because I never got into the original series.
No, I'll always have nostalgia for the original series.
Then
I would say Deep Space Nine for me. I know that wouldn't be yours.
Yeah, for me it'd probably be like Voyager and Deep Space Nine are pretty close. I'd say probably Voyager than Deep Space Nine.
Right.
And then Enterprise I actually really liked.
Enterprise was good.
Enterprise is better than Voyager and Deep Space Nine in a lot of ways.
In some, yeah, maybe I would kind of say they're on par. Okay,
and
yeah,
and then Next Generation, of course, is always number one.
Is the gold standard.
It is the gold. It is, because original series has the nostalgia value, and it kind of originated a lot of the canon, which is good.
Yes.
And then Next Generation was the next huge step of developing it. Then you have the two main spin-offs, and then you have Enterprise. That's like it was like like a callback to things. It was
like, I get that.
And what's good about it was the characters were more relatable. Like it wasn't like, oh, here's this bright new future of humans that we can't really relate to. It was like, here's the beginning of the bright new future with humans that still have a lot of struggles that we
still
have.
Flawed. I mean, Terrence is making the point in the comments. Hey, Terrence, what's going on, bro? He's saying like the sex and the swearing, is it's all kind of reflective of the decay of Starfleet and all these other things. And some of it is, again, meant to make it seem more realistic and more relatable and a little more edgy for the modern audience. Fine. I don't mind all of that if it's Battlestar Galactica, right? The whole point of the future and Gene Roddenberry's vision was a better, more utopian kind of society.
So
we didn't see any of that. We didn't have any hope in this series at all. In fact, the very fact that Starfleet has devolved, it's like, well, what's the point of this show?
I mean, Deep Space Nine is good at bringing to light the bits of, if you want to say, of darkness within the Federation. You're pretty. How far are you in Deep Space Nine?
I'm on season 3. I've skipped a couple episodes. I'm probably up to 16 in season 3.
So there's going to be small arcs regarding sort of like shady stuff that the Federation does.
Right.
But they explored that, but never took away from the Federation as a whole. It was like, hey, there's stuff that they kind of touch on that's kind of like, what the CIA does.
Yeah, I get it. So America has an image and the CIA is kind of working in the background,
doing stuff that maybe aren't quite so constitutional or stuff like that.
Sure.
So but that was kind of within their morality tales of the focus on human nature. Well, yeah, humans are always going to be humans, but the shift from Next Generation to Picard in terms of how they behave, like so many. There's the channel that I've been sending you videos from, that guy Major Grin or something, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Definitely go check him out, Terrence. Look up continuity errors in Star Trek, and you'll find this channel. It's like Major Grin or something. This guy does so many videos comparing like interviews and just a lot of behind the scenes footage. Pretty much everyone talking about Gene Roddenberry's he shows a lot of stuff how it's like nothing is congruent. Like there's no continuity between Next Generation and with Picard or Discovery. It's just you want, like, watching Star Trek for people was always meant to be like an escape. It was to take you to a world that was subtly, developing very good plots that did social commentary without giving you the feeling that you're shoving it down your throat. It's not, this and that and the other. It's not, it's not women this, gay rights that, whatever, or just, trying to introduce a lot of these heated elements to just so much nonsense going on in it.
I mean, to be fair, and I'm sure Terrence would raise this point. Terrence, do you want to jump into the chat by chance? We could actually get you on the show if you want. But I was saying this, Star Trek has always been a very progressive show. No, I'm not the biggest fan. I love the show, but I'm not a super fan. I wouldn't call myself a Trekkie. But they did tackle social issues, of course, right? The first interracial kiss.
Part of the story.
It was part of it, right? The whole trial with Data and whether he constituted sentient life or whether he was or just a machine, and all these different types of things. And these were deep philosophical questions that they were tackling in the narrative of the story. But what they've done with Picard, and and they did it with the STD as well, is it's not part of the story. It's almost feels like they're throwing it in your face, like they're lecturing, like you have to take this on. And I did know. Oh, he's multitasking. He's in the kitchen. Yeah. So going back to Terrence and me had a quick discussion about the STD, which is Star Trek Discovery, and I don't particularly like how they've constantly made the character of Michael Burnham like the cornerstone of every important character that we learn and love later on. Right, from Christopher Pike to Spock and to all these other people. If it weren't for Burnham, they would not have been the great characters that they were. And we see a lot of that play into Picard, where this was, Terrence would tell you, the character of Admiral Picard or Captain Picard was iconic, right? Some people refer to him as like their second dad, like he was such an authority figure. And he's a diplomatic genius, a military expert, all of these things. You just full on strong leadership. And none of that is seen in this series at all. In fact, early on in our discussions, Amos, I was kind of saying they've gutted the character. I hope in the progression he kind of recaptures, that glory, that, kind of gets back into it.
I mean, you remember like he gets on this ship, the Captain Rios, like is
that what it's called? I think the Rio Pinto.
I don't even know. It was such a weird ship too. But anyways, he gets on the ship, and then there's the scene where he like looks at the captain's chair, and then he's kind of like, you could see there's that longing to like take command and become Picard again, and he doesn't do it. And then you're like,
never capitalized on it.
And then I'm like, oh, and I told you in the beginning, I'm like, they gotta do it. They have to do it. They gotta give him that. Isn't that kind of like saying my grandpa was my hero, but now he's just old?
No, it's not, Terrence. And this is the difference. This is the problem. Because all of those attributes that we're talking about are mental. You don't need the strength to do it, right? It's not like he's got to lift heavy stones, right? Having charge and taking command and being a good diplomat, like actually negotiating things, those are not skills that you grow out of. But in this entire thing, he was just looked upon as incompetent, from the interview in the first episode where he was shouted down, right through to the end where he's struggling. Yes, I could understand struggling, controlling the ship takes concentration, but they shit on that too. They're kind of putting a lantern on the fact that, he's old and frail and can't pull it off. So I wish they gave him a little bit more of that, of the past.
Yeah, because then he gets... So he's saying in episode 10 they kind of gave him that, but it's like what I don't get is just content. Like there's actual footage of Alex Kurtzman being interviewed saying, everyone keeps talking about the continuity and the canon and honoring that. That's all we thought about. And then they show the whole show how like literally the entire show is just everything is wrong,
shitting on continuity.
Yeah, completely shitting on continuity. And like so many times Picard has shown, like Picard didn't get to pilot any ships often, but the times he did, you could tell he was a very competent pilot.
Yeah.
And how could, like in what was it? So it was the year 2399.
Yes.
The beginning of Next Generation was like 2360 something. 40 years. You think ship piloting stuff is going to change that much? The only difference was there was 3D, like a 3D compact like panel thing.
Yeah,
but even then, it should be the same. Like, do you think it'd be a hard thing for us to drive a car from the 60s?
Yeah, fair point.
Or the 80s? The only thing that would probably so the 80s would actually be a proper one. So if I drove a car from the 80s. Probably wouldn't be a problem. I've driven cars from the 80s, from the 90s and such, and had no problem. Why is it such a problem as a competent Starfleet officer can't pilot a ship? Actually, it's 20 years, actually, at this point, after the last ship that he, as far as we know, he's captained. So Make him the captain. Yeah, Terrence is saying, agree, it could have been better in episode 10, made him the captain we know, but then again, he's the admiral we're not getting to know. Still, though, like the admirals are supposed to be even better.
No, even with that, there was no growth of Picard at all in this series, from what I can see. Right? Again, if you are the protagonist of the story and you're going through a hero's journey or whatever arc that they're trying to put forward, there's development and growth. We didn't see any of that with Picard. In fact, Picard was very much a supporting actor in a lot of this. Not to mention, half the cast that was there was completely fucking useless. We don't even know why they were there. So the Elron wannabe, right? From Lord of the Rings,
the Romulan elf with a sword,
in the future with guns and lasers. Okay, one minute he's a badass ninja, the next minute he's cowering in fear and he's a little boy. And what? Why do we need all of this? None of that is relevant. They wasted an entire episode bringing him on board for no reason. He was not even used.
The cybernetics doctor, Dr. Girardi, the chick, the blonde chick with the weird, like randomly
drummer from Scott Pilgrim is what Nerderotic calls her.
Yeah, randomly wanting to fuck the captain.
Again, why? And why is she always throwing up? Why do we need to constantly see this woman throwing up? Is that like her one talent and she just had to capitalize on it?
The interjection of the story of the background of the captain who, like, it makes sense now. He was commanded to kill a couple of androids. Let's just throw that in a half an hour space in one episode. Like, there's no development. There's no like conceivable normal way things are revealed. It's just kind of like, let's fucking throw that in there. Just jam that in and jam this in. Like the what was it? Rafi randomly they go to that one planet. Fuck, what was the planet? See, it doesn't make an impression. What was the planet called?
Was it Free Cloud?
Free Cloud. So they go to Free Cloud, and she just randomly meets up with her son that hates her for some reason. And then she finds out that she's going to be a grandma, and then that doesn't really matter anyways, because it's just like a random little, like, okay, we're going to get rid. Like, here's a 20-minute moment where she gets to emotionally develop. Oh, my son, duh, and then like goes back to the ship. Like, why?
There was no point. There was absolutely no point. No, I agree with the weed there, Terrence.
Yeah, she's high. She's on weed. She's drunk. She's fucking washed out like crazy. And then
and she lost her son as a result of it. Fine, I have no problem with any of those individual points, except that it has nothing. It has nothing to do with the story.
Allow it to develop where it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the biggest problem. This is the same problem that I have with Discovery. Nobody cares about these new characters. That was my problem. In fact, I'm even struggling with that in Deep Space Nine. Like, you tell me, Odo is doing something. I'm like, who's that again? Because I'm just not really connecting with the characters. And I have the same issue with this. I do not care about Soji. I do not care about any of this. The only person that I have any kind of emotional investment in is Picard. And the reason for that is that they haven't actually developed any of these characters and shown any kind of relationship. They just presupposed it. So the whole Raffi character in Picard, that's completely out of the blue. Nobody has ever seen that. They're trying to rush through a backstory and make her of significance, and they did a terrible job at it. So at the end of the day, it's like, who cares?
And the relationship he had with Raffi is completely different with the relationship he had with Riker. If he had a proper first officer, that was it. Like, you would think you would have a first officer that was similar to Riker. But the way she talked to him, the way she treated him was complete bullshit.
Yeah, she kept talking down to him. Every woman was talking down to him.
Kept calling him JL. Like, Riker still would always like have a certain respect for Picard. She's just kind of walked all over him, and yeah,
I agree. And I think early on in our reviews we were talking about the show really should be called Women Screaming at Picard, and him taking it like a bitch. Because that's all he did. Everybody, from his housekeeper who was calling him a fucking idiot, and he's doing what? You're going on a mission? No, you ain't. And all this other nonsense to Raffi constantly lecturing him.
The admiral saying sheer fucking hubris.
The admiral shouting at him, sheer fucking hubris.
With all due respect, shut the fuck up. Like, what?
I mean, it should be named Women Screaming at Picard, right? That's basically what the show was. And all right, you want to do that, fine, but do not call it Star Trek and do not put him as Picard, right? If he's going to be the punching bag of the show, name it something else. Because as I'm sure even Terrence will attest, the character of Picard is strong, leadership, and all these things. And he basically was kind of a softy bitch.
And there's no consequences.
Nothing. To absolutely nothing.
So someone brought up one that was funny. It said the respect of the dead
yes.
throughout Star Trek. And then they show the scene where when they go into the cube that crashed and you see 7 of 9 show up, you know what's the first thing she does when she sees them? She kicks over a couple of Borg bodies and they fall off a fucking ledge. And it's like, isn't she like some sort of sympathizer of the Borg that cares about them? What is she doing kicking over dead bodies of them?
Yeah, that was. I mean, they completely fucked over the 7 of 9 character.
I mean,
and then no other reason.
We talked about
requires it.
Yeah, then we talked about the part where she like connects to the cube, becomes like a mini Borg queen for a moment. But that's just
cool.
It was cool. You're like, ooh, something's gonna happen, and then
something's gonna finally happen, and then there's Christmas shit on it.
And I'm like, there's that, and then the he's the 92-year-old guy in Star Trek world is not that old. Yeah, his wardrobe isn't as good. Yes, we will agree to that.
I will definitely.
They had her showing a little bit more towards the end.
Yeah, but then of course she's a lesbian because her relationship with Chipotle or what was his name?
Chipotle,
Taco Bell. I can't remember his name.
Chakotay,
right? Yeah,
never.
So that
never happened.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter. She's bi. It doesn't matter.
Well,
and suddenly she's getting intimate with Raffi. Oh, fuck yeah, that's great, man.
And then she's some like renegade vigilante group or something, which made no sense. Like, why? I think someone did one. Chipotle. Yeah.
I don't fucking know, man. I don't fucking know.
Someone's gonna call us a racist for that one because he's like a Native American character.
He's a Native American, not even a Mexican.
I mean, did you ever? Just a little aside. Did you ever hear the parts? There's a video where they like really criticized how like his whole native. So he was a Hispanic. He was a South American guy, like a Mexican guy.
Yeah, like Peruvian something.
Yeah. Did you ever see the stuff where they like pulled out all the clips where his like Native American heritage was like just shit on in the show?
No, I never saw that.
So in literally the first episode when they're like, so Tom Paris is talking to him. They're in some like crisis situation. He goes, "Don't you have like some Indian powers that can turn you into a bird and fly us out of here?" They drop that in the middle of the episode. I'm like, oh.
No, I don't remember that.
And then his whole development as like a Native American character was very prejudiced, and he hated it. He absolutely despised how it was. It was just kind of a funny thing when they realized like even in their best efforts, there's still some really racist shit going on in the show.
In Star Trek, but it was an aside. It was, I'm sure, as Terrence would rightly say, it's bad writing and just no self-awareness. But
see, when they do that, it was still like you got to kind of dig to find it. With Picard and shit, it's just like in your face. Just we don't care. Like it's fucking there. It's here we are. We're here. We're queer. Get over it. That whole thing. And again, everyone. It's not that we have any sort of homophobic or bigoted views on those types of people. It's when they did it in the other shows, it was subtle and it made sense to be part of the plot. It was convincing that someone in that position could have certain views, have certain beliefs, have certain behaviors that they want to do. Like, so, the first interracial kiss was in the original series. The first lesbian kiss is in Deep Space Nine. That whole plot line, I was not at any point feeling some sort of like lecture or it was shoved down in my throat. It was just kind of like, oh, okay, there's a struggle, there's this, there's that, and they kissed. That's part of the story. It makes sense to me. I'm not sitting there like, oh, the outrage of two women kissing. Like, no.
Yeah, in the words of Robert Frank, right? We have nothing against gay people as long as both girls are hot. It doesn't really matter if if they have a lesbian.
Oh God,
no,
no.
Right. Anyway, but to the point. Look, I don't give a shit about lesbian characters or gay characters as long as they're good characters. Right. I don't care. Like I remember the interracial kiss. That wasn't a big deal for me. I grew up in the 80s. I haven't got to the lesbian kiss in Deep Space Nine. I'll let you know how I feel about that if it stirs any emotions. But if you don't care about the characters, all of this other noise, all of this lecturing falls on deaf ears, and that's my biggest issue with this. Right? They try to make Raffi like some important character, Soji, which is the woman that's the key to everything for some reason. I don't even understand why Picard is getting involved in this. Especially if it's like, me and a ragtag bunch of guys decide to take on the CIA in the background, right? We're going to do some kind of thing like that. It just never clicked for me. And the fact that he never developed as a character pisses me off even more.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's see.
He sits down on the chair and he kind of like cracks his knuckles and he's like, I don't know how to do this. And I'm like, fuck you, Alex Kurtzman.
I know. It was such a good build-up and it fell flat. And even when he did take command of the ship and, he's being all brave and they got the fractal whatever, nothing ever really panned out. The minute any of these characters, like the established characters, start to get like a grip of themselves, Picard or 7 of 9, they shut it down. They shut it down so quick, nothing.
Riker comes in to save the day. They don't let that develop. It's literally just him. Like, you don't see anywhere else in the ships. They're all pretty much the same ship, by the way.
Yeah, well, it is. Yeah, exactly.
Like, they're too lazy to, like, when you watch any other, like, battle scene or fleet of ships in the other Star Trek series, it's always, like, different ships. Like, they have people that put in work to, like, ooh, let's make it look varied and different. And
sure.
It's actually, like, convincing because there's so many different ships. This is just, like, one ship copied a million times. There's a fleet. It's like, the fuck? Like, and... Yeah. And then it's just him on a bridge that was boring, where there's like two people who's blurred out in the background, and he's just like sitting there, like, Captain Riker, boring as fuck. Like,
yeah. I mean, I didn't care much for it. Like, some people are complaining that the ships in this series do not look sexy because TNG was kind of known for sexy looking spaceships, the Enterprise and I don't even know any of the ships beyond the Enterprise, but sure, I understand that there's a certain aesthetic and stuff, and it's supposed to be pleasing, and it's the future, and everything's great. But yeah, as even Terrence is saying in the comments, it's kind of like, yeah, it is kind of lazy that they do that. Every time they've had some kind of confrontation with the fleets, you always see the variety of ships that are being used and all that kind of stuff. And again, none of it mattered. None of it mattered. You get this big confrontation, and the Tal Shiar or whatever they're called, it's just like, yeah, all right, we're gone. And they go from shitting on Picard in the first episode to suddenly believing him and deciding to protect this planet off of no evidence.
And then they're crying that he's dead, and then there's this like bonding moment that comes out of nowhere. Like, there's no.
Where did that happen?
The bonding, the friendship, the familiarity that they all developed in the 10 episodes was not earned. None of it was there. It was just like, we're going here, shit's happening. There isn't really any real threat to their life. It's just some crazy, stupid stuff. Picard is an angry Frenchman with an eye patch.
Oh God, that was by far the worst television I've ever seen in my life.
I mean, in a way, it's kind of like they're trying to do the lighthearted, funny thing.
Yeah, they're trying to be high cap, but it was so cringe.
And then this is the best part: no consequences.
No.
Picard comes back to life
Oh,
as a fucking android that is destined to die anyways.
yes, as a golem that gives him 10 or 20 years to live as a synthetic. It's like, again, this is Kritzman 101, where nothing matters. None of it matters. Again, I complained about, what was the doctor that was trying to reproduce data again? What's his name again?
Maddox,
right? You have an entire episode to get Maddox, right? And they risk their lives and they do this thing with Seven of Nine, and Picard plays this, I don't know, drug lord or whatever the fuck he was supposed to be. And you go through that whole thing, and at the end of it, they kill him. And not only do they kill him, Seven of Nine goes and shoots up the bitch on the surface. And again, none of that is relevant. You've just wasted, because none of that's moving the plot forward. And this is Kurtzman at his finest. All of that doesn't matter. Even the episode where they get, Elnor, fucking elf boy, doesn't matter. They went through an entire episode bringing him on board. And he, for half the show, he's sitting idle. He's got nothing really going on. He's got nothing to do. And as somebody once said, if you have to start to look for things for your characters to do, it's probably time to start killing them off. Because
and then Hugh just dies.
Oh God! And then I hated that. And it was so shit.
Some people commented. Someone talked about how Hugh didn't make sense because if you remember, all of the times Hugh appeared in Next Generation, he hated Picard. He didn't want anything to do with him.
I think I remember that. So and he had more paraphernalia as well.
Well, so it makes sense they removed most of the Borg stuff off of him. Like that's how you turn the you remove them, you bring him back to being human. But then he just meets Picard, open arms, everything's great, all is forgiven. I don't hate you anymore. What?
No. You're missing the pivotal point in that thing, right? Just before Picard goes on the Borg cube, he's giving a lecture to Raffi or whoever the fuck it was. The Borg are merciless, they're killers, they don't care, and it's hate and anger, and you can see all of that rage that we remembered from the previous episodes of his hate of the Borg. And then he gets there, sees Hugh, all buddy, and it's like, oh, this is so fascinating. Oh wow, this is just so look at all these XPs, look at fairies, wow. And all of it's gone. All of it is gone. Like the entire purpose of building up that moment and hatred.
Star Trek First Contact was him having to confront that too.
I know.
Remember?
It was a key.
I must be drawn here and no further. And then he's like breaking shit and he's freaking out.
I know. and that would have been character development if he'd got there and he was angry and or even scared. And then Hugh was kind of like, no, take my hand. We have history. And he kind of pulls him out of that. That would have been character development. Nah, fuck that. It'll be all right. We'll just write it out of the script. Nobody cares. We'll just change his mind in like 3 seconds. It's fine. It's fine. Nobody will notice. And that's the kind of shit that really pisses me off. Oh my God. It was so fucking bad. I mean, it's not as bad as Discovery. And I think I've said it before. I watched the first few episodes of Discovery and I got to like the penultimate episode and I stopped because it was just so fucking cringe. And then I saw, Christopher Pike. I said, oh, well, all right, a little member berries, maybe he'll sweeten the juice. So I did finish the first season and I watched the first episode of the second one. And the minute there was this scene, Pike is in trouble and Michael Burnham makes that statement, we're going to rescue him, aren't we, girls? I was like, click. Fuck this shit. I was done. I was like, this kind of preachiness and shit like that, I don't need. And I've never watched an episode since, and I don't think anybody else did because the ratings went down.
They completely fucked over all of the continuity. They're talking about season 3.
They are doing a season 2 of Picard and 3 of STD. But you see, it's pride now. They do not want to. The same thing's going on with Doctor Who actually, because there is no Star Trek season that's only stopped at one season. I think, save maybe the animated series or something. Nobody wants to be that guy. Nobody wants to be that director and stuff like that. That they killed Star Trek in one season. So just on that kind of begrudging stubbornness, they're going to give it a season 2 and possibly a season 3.
Did you know that Enterprise was supposed to get a season 5?
It wasn't 5 seasons. It was only 4.
It was only 4.
Oh,
so
okay.
they were going to do a 5th season that was going to go into like a little more of like a conspiracy behind T'Pol's background.
Oh, she was the Vulcan. She was the
yeah. She was the Vulcan that had like the anger issues, and basically they touch on so they were going to do like development into the Romulans. So they were going to basically reveal her to be like to have a great grandparent who's a Romulan, which is why she's like a little bit less Vulcan with her like control. And then it would lead into like a whole unraveling of a storyline about the Romulans, because they encountered them, you know, in season 4 and stuff.
Right.
And then it just kind of ended.
Yeah. I quite liked Enterprise, and even that had, you know, she had the relationship with the captain, the engineer or something.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was sex and all that kind of stuff going on, but it was in line with the story. There was actually a development. You know, they didn't like each other, then they liked each other, and all. In Picard, the sex is just kind of like, you know, you got some time, want to fuck? It's like, I've just met you, and I mentioned that I have a brother or a sister. Let's fuck. There's no investment, none in this at all. And that's what happened at the end when the Romulan spy is there talking to Soji and trying to convince her that he loves her and all. None of that works because there's nothing, there's no buildup of that at all. They just rush through everything, and yeah, it just made no sense. Yeah.
Shit's fucking.
Yeah, I'm. So, what was your best part of the series? Let's do a best and worst.
The beginning and the end.
The beginning was the best, and the end was the worst.
No. I'm just saying is the only like redeeming parts of it was just really the intro. You know, they're showing like, you know, Picard's having these hallucinations about Data, and I'm like, ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
this is a nice way of doing it.
Yeah,
and I thought there was going to be something like you and I would talk. Like they should have had Q appear in this show. I was wanting it so bad.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah. Because so people thought there was like an Easter egg to Q, because you remember, so it begins with Picard and Data playing poker.
Yeah.
And Data puts his hand out and it's 5 queens.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, Q, there's a reference to Q, he's going to appear. And then all that stuff. And then at the very end, when there's the exchange with Data and Picard, I actually, even though like they made Data behave a little bit out of character.
Yes. No, they did a good job with that, I have to say.
They didn't allow him to become like, I mean, he's an android. He can't really become too much of an annoying character to be like, you know, shoving something down your throat. He just, you know, there's this, you know, he's there, he's like having a drink. He's he's showing like some humanity in what he's doing.
Yeah.
And then there's the part, did you hear the song they played when he was dying?
Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but I do remember.
Skies.
It was what?
That was Blue Skies. That was
Blue
the song.
Skies.
It was the one he sang in Nemesis as a gift to Riker and Troy's birthday. I mean, not birthday, wedding. And so that was a nice little thing. And did you know who sang that version of it? So the actress who plays Soji.
Oh, she sang that version.
She sang that. So there was like a nice little thing there, kind of a nice little
full circle,
kind of send him off kind of thing. And I like that.
Yeah. I would say that's
like
well done.
That was it though. Like that's it. That's the one really
I
good
would
thing.
say. Yeah, I think they did that well. There were a couple parts where I really got my hopes up. So definitely when 7 of 9 did the Borg Queen thing,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, now shit's getting real. Like, oh yeah, it's on now, bitches. Well, of course, Kurtzman didn't let that last very long in typical fashion, but it was such a cool concept. That would have been really, really interesting take on the whole thing. Even when Picard did start to fly the ship for the first time, even though, as Terrence keeps pointing out, he's 90 something years old, when he kind of took back the control and he started to fly the ship, it's like, oh yes, now we're getting Captain Picard. But again, Kurtzman didn't let that last, the shit on him quickly after that.
Yeah.
So there were a couple brief moments, it's like, oh yeah, breath of fresh air. But in typical Kurtzman fashion, he wouldn't let it last. I would say even when this, I mean, again, we know the sci-fi cliches that it's always going to come down to the last second. When Starfleet showed up at the end, like just seeing the confrontation between the two is like, oh yeah, this is going to be an epic battle, and of course, nothing ever happened. But that also is very cool, to see the fleet come out and all this kind of stuff, and of course, having Riker and I'm not a huge fan of Troy. I think she was she was hot, but she was annoying. Yeah, that was pretty, to see them again and kind of get a little bit of that banter. Hear Riker say, shields up. That was some good member berries.
Yeah, shields up, and then he's like he's scanning. He's a little bit. He's showing like he has resources. He has a bit of power left as a captain. He can do what he's doing. Yes. And he kind of, he's like he's not quite retired. He's like, well, I'm on like reserve duty.
Yeah, standby or whatever.
Which is cool. It's like, okay.
But we knew that. We knew that's why they were saying that, because he's going to come in at the end. Well, at least I did. I don't.
Do you know what I didn't get was he shows up in a ship.
Yes.
And he says, the flagship, and I'm like, ooh, the Enterprise. Nope. Is that the Enterprise?
What was it? It was, I don't even remember what it was.
Like Gang Hay or something. Like because it's always
style.
I don't fucking know. It was some random name, like, because everyone tried to, like, there was a lot of talk, like, is the Enterprise going to make an appearance? Who's going to be the captain of the Enterprise? What kind of ship is the Enterprise going to be? Like, what class?
That would have been cool.
None of that.
Yeah.
Because the Enterprise, as far as we've seen, has never, ever, like, ended. It's just, they always make a new one.
Right. I do understand that because of the licensing agreement, there has to be certain differences between the movies and the television show, like 20% changes kind of thing. So it might be too complicated for them to incorporate the Enterprise.
Well, so that class of ship that you saw them in,
yeah,
that was what the Enterprise was supposed to be.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I know it should have. It might have been there. Maybe if you break it down frame by frame, you might be able to spot the ID number somewhere. But I think for licensing reasons, they could not use Enterprise. Although that would have been pretty good member berries. I'd give you that. Yeah. What was? I mean, the bad was there was just so much bad. There was so much bad.
Bald man bad.
Bald man bad. Right. Like the whole thing. Going to Romulus. What was it? Whatever the outpost was where they picked up the elf boy, and everybody's angry at Picard. Like all of them are angry at him, right? He fucking saved your entire, all of y'all that are here. Yes, he didn't save everyone, but he got you guys out. What the fuck are you angry at him? He's not in charge of stuff. He was on your side. He did everything he could at the cost of his own career, but suddenly he's the bad guy. I was like, what the fuck is this, man? And then the whole, Romulans only, trying to play at, racism and all this other kind of stuff is like, why is that in English? It's like a lot of that kind of subtlety I really didn't take to very well. I think, yeah, that's probably and Elnor killing the guy with the sword was stupid. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like the thing he says, choose life, choose to live. And he goes, and then he just like, well, guess not. All right, guess I'm killing you. So he was a bit of a badass in some sense, but then at the very end, just the random, like he becomes a child. He's just so out of character. Just like, oh, are you gonna assimilate me now? Like,
Yeah. And again, that's how Kurtzman writes it. The men are all they regress. The men go from strong to weak, and the women go from essential to omnipotent. And that's kind of how he writes it. The women are the key to everything. And we start off with Elnor being kind of a badass. He becomes a child. Well, Picard is an old fart, and he stayed an old fart. Even the captain of the ship, kind of at the end, is kind of like, he's having this emotional breakdown and all this other kind of stuff. This is how Kurtzman writes. You can't have a strong male character without a strong woman that made him strong, kind of shit. Yeah, it's anyway. I mean, you haven't watched Discovery, but you see a lot of that in Discovery.
At least Deanna Troi wasn't, overpowered as a character.
She's overpowered as a character?
No, at least she wasn't.
Oh, she wasn't. Yeah, I suppose. Charis is saying the universal translator works on signs now.
Maybe.
Yeah, I didn't know he still had that on him, but yeah, why not?
Yeah, it's funny, like how that all worked. I mean, yeah, but like I said, the only good parts was like the beginning of episode 1 and the end of episode 10. Sure. Everything in between, there was very little redeeming anything. It was like you get the little member berries to make you feel good and kind of, I get that.
Yeah.
When they're on Free Cloud, there's that big oaf of a guy that's like starts making a reference about, Quark of Ferenginar highly recommended you and stuff. And I'm like, a reference to Deep Space Nine, or there's another one that's like a reference to this, and then there's the part where Picard is piloting the ship, and then they talk about the Picard maneuver. Oh, there's that too.
Yeah, and the member berries,
and then it's like, what? And did you see the one that was really funny about Commodore O, the Starfleet's Starfleet chick that was like part of
she was Romulan or Vulcan. I can't remember which one.
So she was like part Romulan, but she passed as a Vulcan. And so what they said was the whole thing was once Data was created, she was inserted into Starfleet to basically infiltrate and take over, to where she would be in a position of power to cause the attack on Mars.
Right.
That whole thing. And it's like, okay, that's a conceivable thing. But then there was the weird like Men in Black shit she was doing. Like, so she approaches that Dr. Girardi and she's wearing shades, which made no sense. Like, yeah,
because the Vulcans and the Romulans have inner shades or something. They have
like a second set of eyelids on the inside that protect them from their eyes, because the Vulcan homeworld is a very sunny planet.
Right. So they evolved that. I don't know if the Romulans have it though, but
well, they're the same. They're very similar.
Right. Okay.
And then here's and then they messed up the canon with that. So the Vulcans evolved and originate from Vulcan.
Right.
And the Romulans were basically like, apparently the Romulans were Vulcans that branched off thousands of years ago. Like they were like that went off on a colony. They never heard back from them. They developed into a more like a planet of essentially Vulcans that are more in tune with emotions and all that. Well, what's his name? The Narek, the Romulan chick,
lover boy,
Romulan lover boy that wanted that fuck Soji. He
apparently his sister as well, because it's Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and then he starts talking about this whole when my people arrived on Vulcan. No, you're from there.
Oh my god. I mean, they shit on so many things. Especially, I think you and I were discussing this, the Big Escape, where they're on the Borg cube and suddenly they've got a Stargate that's only for the Queen, and they can teleport up to 40,000 light years away. And
both people were all talking about like, wouldn't they be dominating the entire galaxy at that point?
Yeah, it's like, why are they flying in cubes? Like, what the fuck?
they showed so many past references of species with sort of gateway technology, like that have always like, oh, if they had this, they would be virtually unstoppable. Like in Deep Space Nine, there's a whole thing where they talk about the gateways too, and they're like, if these people got this, they would virtually take over the entire Federation within a few months.
Yes.
Like it was just like all this crazy shit. And then like, oh, the Borg just found one, assimilated the technology, and they only use it for one person. Like, no.
Yeah. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? Like, what? That is so inefficient and illogical. If you're trying to assimilate all of human life and you had that technology, it's a no-brainer. That pissed me off tremendously.
Because the biggest threat to the Borg was the Federation.
Right. Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And Voyager, you basically like there's the scene where 7 of 9 is like captured by the Borg Queen, and she has this whole conversation, and basically they admit the biggest threat to the Borg are humans.
Oh, okay.
You can defeat every form of disease and most death with transporter tech. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. If you have that whole thing, but to write that in as an aside, that really fucks up the kind of the canon. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure somebody on the side is going to be like, oh, well, the Borg are affected badly when they go through the wormhole or whatever, to try and save the lazy writing and no research done by the writing staff. But those kind of mistakes really, really pulled me out.
They had technical consultants in the past that would always make sure the continuity was preserved in terms of what exists, what didn't exist, what made sense, what didn't make sense, and how to basically make it flow but not get too overpowered. Like, we're not going to introduce an aside as some technology that's literally going to fuck up the canon.
Right. Well,
but then there's little things. Yeah. And then there's things that are, I mean, Star Trek, the other shows have done it too. Like, I don't know if you remember, there's the running gag about how Voyager never ran out of torpedoes.
Yes, I know about that. They had like 20 to start, and they just never ran out.
It's just like, and it was just like, but we only have limited torpedoes. Full spread, boom, just every fucking time. Like,
yeah. But I mean, don't they have replicators? Can't they like produce this shit?
Well, they made it sound like you could only ever make those torpedoes with the technology they have, like at shipyards. Shipyards had to replenish their torpedoes. You couldn't make them on a ship.
Right.
Which,
I mean, that's what we thought.
Yeah, and then they're just like, oh, we've got. I mean, I think someone did like a running count, and it was like they were like over 150 torpedoes in the hole. Somehow, it's just like it wasn't even close.
The entire series. They did 150 from 20.
Something like that. It was just like, what?
I think I remember that. I actually do think I saw that video where they actually counted through all of the torpedoes that they shot, and it was some ridiculous number.
But that's like a very tricky thing.
I mean, come on, I'll give you that one. People in movies shoot unlimited bullets all the time. That's nothing new. I'll give you that one. That's not my biggest pet peeve.
But other than that, you're not sitting there like, oh, let's introduce a fucking Stargate in the middle of the show just for shits and giggles and hope no one notices that the Borg are literally the most powerful species to exist because of that. Like, nope.
I mean, the whole thing with the Borg, the whole premise was like they don't leave their dead behind. They came back and they collected their technology.
That was another one too.
Yeah, all of this shit is gone.
They're like, oh, their subspace matrix collapsed. So yeah, the Borg just said fuck off. Like, no.
That doesn't happen. Right? There are entire episodes where you see the Borg come back and collect the dead, and they take the technology and they, do whatever it is they do. I think they do something with bodies too. Yeah.
And the fact that 7 of 9 could reboot the entire ship and cause it to become operational again, only to shut it down, it's like, then they should definitely be coming back and getting that.
Exactly. If that's
especially
all
if
it took.
Yeah, and if that thing freaking crashed on that planet, wouldn't you think that Borg would be there within a day or two?
Exactly.
No, like that actually would have been a really interesting plot line if like a Borg cube or two showed up and destroyed the Romulans.
That would
with
have been
Starfleet showing up. That'd be
that would
really
have been
cool.
that would have been cool. That would have been an epic ending.
But fuck that. We're just all gonna show up. No shots are fired, and we all go home happy.
We're all swallowed by giant orchids for no fucking reason.
Yeah, giant orchids. Picard doesn't die.
Can't die apparently.
Can't die. Everyone cries about him for no reason.
Yeah, it's oh my god. Yeah, all that.
Dr. Soong has a son somehow.
Yeah, never mentioned before. Very convenient. There was so much of that hand of God shit that was going on, including all the magic they did when the Romulan woman is like could through the air can reenact the past and project it, and they're seeing where not Soji, the other girl, and her boyfriend were like making out and shit.
I mean, that was a little bit off. I mean, at least they made it so it's like Picard's like, hey, that technology is illegal.
Yeah, but it's still fucking magic. I mean, that is so overpowered. If that's what you can do to just reenact the past.
What's her name? The android that can do mind melds. That makes sense.
I want to beat something. That was.
I'm like, she's like, it's like it just explains. Oh yeah, she read Surak. Yeah, she understands everything about Vulcans, so she could totally do it. Has nothing to do with understanding shit. You're an android. You can't just do that. Like, I mean, granted, they had some sort of like what was it? There was the whole thing where they could like scan your brain and transfer your consciousness.
Yes. Yeah.
Whoop.
What happened?
Froze there for a second. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. So there was the whole thing where they could like scan your consciousness and transfer it to a body, right?
Yes.
That would have been way more convincing if like, we'll put her in the machine, we'll scan her brain, we'll put it in one of the androids, have them properly interpret the data.
Yeah.
No.
Kurt's been writing,
No, we're gonna have her do something that only biological life forms should technically be able to do.
Let's do some, and I mean it's obvious because even Troy couldn't read her mind, as an android. It's kind of two different operating systems. So, but no, magic. And I don't mind magic. I mean, Star Trek there's a lot of fucking magic, right? That's what's going on. Sure. But ridiculous magic, like just doesn't make sense magic, that pisses me off.
Yeah, and it was kind of weird when they did open up that portal from the those synthetic life forms and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Like they show up and they're like these giant like mechanical worm looking things, and I'm like, why does that happen? Like, where did they come from, and why are they giant mechanical worms?
I mean, it was such an interesting premise, and they basically took it back to the Matrix with these fucking, claws and all this other kinds of stuff. So you're telling me that, I mean, I would love to know what is outside the universe, and I thought that was something really interesting. But I didn't understand why, this fucking octopus was coming through the hole, right? If you're going to kill all organic life, I thought it would be like a pulse, a laser, something interesting, a plague.
Terrence brings up an interesting point about the mind melds. Does she have a kind of organic neurology, or is it like Data's positronic? No, they all have positronic brains because they're all made from Data's, like the single cell thing that they copied. They're all made from him. So they're all positronic. And every time we've looked at positronic networks do not operate like regular brains.
Yeah.
Because Troy, if Troy can't read her, and she's of the same design as all the other ones, then she in turn cannot just read someone else. Yeah. Then it is problematic. He's saying then it is problematic. Yeah, it is problematic.
Yeah, it is problematic to us too. It's fucking magic.
Now, if androids like did mind melds to each other, then that's whatever. Like, of course that could happen because they're like androids. No. If they somehow had a way of connecting their positronic brains to like communicate with each other, like a mind meld. Shut up. Like I'd look at that and go, okay, yeah, they're trying to mimic Vulcans. They do it to each other, whatever. But to like, oh, here's a human being, and I'm just gonna fucking scan her brain with my fingers, like no, you don't do
That's
that.
a real stretch. That was some fucked up magic shit right there.
Like I would believe like Troy doing a fucking mind meld as a non-Vulcan over an android doing it just because they read a book. Like, yeah,
exactly.
Android mind meld is called copy and paste.
Exactly.
Exactly. But yeah, it's just like they were all made of the same type of technology as Data was. Like, and you can notice they all had the gold. The gold skin was to kind of like signify like that android-looking skin. Yeah, if Troy did, it'd be cool. Yeah, and it's like I'd totally like go for that over fucking robots starting to read your mind, which made no sense.
It's fucking magic.
Fucking.
There was so much fucking magic in this thing, right? I mean, again, you had that
Star Trek women yelling at Picard and magic.
And magic and Harry Picard, it's literally magic.
Harry Picard.
Right? It's the same thing, like how they track down the girl, suddenly they're going through all this data and stuff, and she's a mystical hacker and she can find any. I mean, it was so much Deus Ex Machina, hand of God kind of thing. It was too convenient.
Well, as an android, for her to do shit that she does, that makes sense.
Sure. Once she was kind of awakened to her abilities and whatever, yeah, fine, no problem. But it wasn't always her. It was all these other people who just suddenly, they.
Oh yeah, Raffi just calls up. Yeah, Raffi just calls the Federation. Yeah, we need diplomatic access. Well, no, I can't give it to you. Well, we're already going there, so you're gonna have to give it to us. Yeah, that's not how this works. That's still Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Now, I get that, but this
Asimov said that. I can't remember who said that.
Arthur C. Clarke.
Arthur C. Clarke. That's right.
Yeah, but no. No, Terrence gets it. It's not believable. It has to be believable because at first warp drive and everything didn't seem believable, but once they explained it and they kind of did it. And what's funny is when they have these technical consultants to like make something believable.
Yeah.
What's funny is later on, someone tends to go back to that, and it actually leads to some innovation.
Sure.
Which makes sense because it's believable. But it's like
that's why we have cell phones.
Yeah, but then you just create some bullshit nonsense that makes no sense where like robots can read your minds now suddenly. It's like,
I mean,
okay, like okay, so it's not believable, but maybe you could have explained it instead of just saying she read a book.
Like she had a special neural interface. You could have really expounded upon that, but
she read the book on Vulcans and she understands it. No, it's not how this works.
I mean, this is the same problem because Kurtzman does the same thing with Discovery. In Discovery, like Terrence and myself are actually having a conversation about he didn't like what the whole Melcelium thing with the tardigrades and the instantaneous travel and stuff like that. I said I agree with you, and one of the biggest problems is the timeline. If it is that Star Trek Discovery was able to do that pre-Kirk, you are really fucking with the timeline, including like all of the tech that's on the Discovery. It's a little too advanced for that pre-original series timeline. So if you're going to do that, just don't call it Star Trek. Just do a completely other show. I agree. Into Star Trek, I agree. If you want to do an entirely other show and that's the premise, I have no problem with that. I actually liked that aspect of it, but it's not Star Trek and it fucks with the timeline. It's too overpowered, too early in the game. And this is the problem Kurtzman has with the writing. He's not familiar with the material. He has no regard for the history or the canon. And if he's backed into a corner, fuck it, magic. We'll create some shit out of nothing. That's how he does his stuff. So yeah, it's pretty sad. I don't think he's sticking around for the second season. Is that right? I don't know. Did you hear? Kurtzman. I think he's leaving Picard.
Thank God.
Yeah, thank God.
Oh yeah, the mycelium network and Discovery was the dumbest thing. Yeah, because you don't have spore drive showing up anywhere else in Star Trek.
Yeah. I mean, you saw a couple of those episodes, right? So you understand.
And then someone also talked about so if you look at the timeline, like for all throughout since Enterprise all the way till like the very end of pretty much Next Generation, and no, from Enterprise all the way till the end, till like Star Trek Nemesis. Like there's a progression of technology. There's there's the panels, there's the computer consoles, and all this stuff.
Yeah, no. What I'm saying is, at the end of Enterprise, he's actually shot into the future, very, very far, like even ahead of where we see now, where they're fighting a time war or something. So that's like the furthest point that we actually see is for the Federation is actually an Enterprise. Am I right?
Yeah. So yeah. So there's all that, and there's all this stuff going on, and Discovery's just like, oh, we've got fucking spore drive, we've got 3D consoles and shit. We've got 3D consoles, which apparently didn't exist, but somehow do. They also had the hologram communication devices, holodecks. Right.
They had holodecks?
They had a holodeck in fucking Discovery. Like, so there's a whole clip that shows them in a fucking holodeck, like an actually good one. Like, I mean, in Enterprise, they actually got to see a holodeck.
Right.
They got to learn about like, oh, resequencing matter, photons and force fields. That's the whole thing. They kind of experienced that, but they never like, oh, we're just gonna invent this shit out of nowhere. It was
we're just gonna magic.
We're just gonna magic it. But no, fucking Discovery. Before, which is supposed to be before the original series, which didn't have holodecks at all.
Yeah.
We got holodecks now. Like what? And then they have like hologram communication devices. Because if you look at the progression, holographic communicate. So like where you see the person you're talking to.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist till Deep Space Nine. They actually introduce that. And there's this whole thing where they're like, oh, the chief installed the new holo communication system. Oh, it's a little finicky. We got it finally working. Yeah, fucking Discovery already had it figured out a whole century ago.
Dang. I didn't even know it was that bad. I haven't reached that far in Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, and it's just, there's all this shit. Just makes no sense.
Oh, it's bad. It's bad. It's over. I think that's thank God.
This season is.
Yeah, this season is. I don't know if I'm gonna watch the next one, to be honest. I think it might do an STD on me and just give me one season, and that's about all I can take. I don't know, man. I don't know. If they bring on a different showrunner, maybe I'll consider it, but I don't know. Now, when this season was announced, was there something you wanted to see but didn't?
The Enterprise.
You wanted to see the Enterprise. I would have said that was a good answer.
I wanted to see more cameos than Riker and Troy.
I understand why they didn't want to do that. And if the series goes on, I'm sure they'll introduce more people.
Because they kept talking, they were like, well, you could have asked for help from Geordi or Worf or Riker or all these people that were always your friends don't exist anymore.
No. Ragtag group of ragamuffins. That's the way we go. Because
we need new people. We need new, vibrant characters with boring backstories and shitty acting and stories that don't connect anywhere.
It's like the last 3 episodes of Star Wars. Pretty much. Pretty much. And they're
I
going to do
would
the same
prefer
thing.
I would prefer Star Wars over Star Trek because of this nonsense.
I don't know if I'll go that far because I didn't even watch the last Star Wars because I was just like, fuck this shit.
I mean, because at least as much as they inserted all their nonsense, at least the technology and the CGI and a lot of the stuff in terms of like the storyline, as much as they threw in a bunch of nonsense, it never took a complete shit on continuity.
Yeah.
I can still watch it. Yeah, I can just watch it and just kind of go, okay, yeah, it's off a bit, but it's not completely off, and I can kind of moderately enjoy it. I mean, it's definitely the worst trilogy of the entire
of the three.
but it is at least tolerable. Oh no, Rise of Skywalker. I get that it kills it. I get that.
No. It was The Last Jedi that killed it for me, bro. You were much more patient if you actually went and watched the last one.
Oh yeah, I mean, you want to retcon shit and go fucking Palpatine's granddaughter and whatnot. Yeah, it's
shit all over the Skywalker story.
So here's the thing. That's
a different episode though. We'll do a Star Wars eventually.
Maybe, I don't know, but I'm not the diehard fan of Star Wars. So when I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, yeah, I can enjoy it enough to kind of watch it and let it progress and whatever. That's fine.
Yes.
But it doesn't feel like, I mean, I think it's because they only do it through movies. Like the shows and stuff are kind of spin-offs from it. Like I can enjoy The Mandalorian. And then most of the movies I can watch and kind of like, I can let it go through. I'm not sitting there, scratching at my eyes, trying to figure out why this makes sense or doesn't make sense.
Or scratching them out, as the case might be.
Yeah. So I'm watching them and I'm kind of like, okay, Last Jedi needed help, but no. Yeah. No, I get it. Palpatine coming back was kind of bullshit.
Yeah. Yes.
But yeah, just the level of killing Star Trek, I think, is way worse than the level of killing Star Wars, because Star Wars is redeemable.
Yeah. Star Wars is redeemable? No, it's fucked. No.
They can make a whole new trilogy to fix a lot of it, because that's what they tried to do with Rise of Skywalker. Rise of Skywalker did a little fixing.
I don't think so.
They tried to kind of tie back a couple of things. I mean, it's still just like
no, it's fucked. There's no redeeming. The whole point of the first 6 episodes is the Skywalker bloodline, and and the death of the Emperor, and they've completely fucked over all of that. There is absolutely no way you can redeem all of those 6 episodes based on these last ones. It's irredeemable. They got to go in a completely different direction.
But I'm just saying is the way is there's a lot of stuff I think they maintain throughout it. I mean, the story has a lot of it, what's going on with it, but I think. I mean,
it's fucked. You cannot bring back Luke Skywalker and the rest of them. You can't.
No. Of course, you can't bring them back. I'm saying is if they created if they had like a whole new bloodline to like follow, there could be some way of like
a whole new story. Fine, I'll give you that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but you can't redeem what they've done.
No, you can't undo it, but you can lead it in a direction of take it down a path of redemption of the damage.
I agree with you. Can go in a whole new direction. You can't redeem what they've done. I think that's similar to what's going on with Picard in terms of his character.
Really, they just got to bring him back. Like fuck the rest of the characters. Just fix him.
Start with it. And Terrence, to your point, is like, yeah, you need to have the actors who aren't going to die in the next 4 years. But how cool would it have been if the side plots that we were looking at, instead of these nonsense, go and get the elf boy and the scientist that they kill off immediately and all this other stuff, and the hand of God when 7 of 9 shows up. Although I like 7 of 9, but they fucked their character. What if a couple of the old characters, you got Worf, maybe Geordi and stuff, and they're kind of hearing the rumors that Picard is on a quest, and they go on a quest to try and meet him up, and at the end of it, it culminates with all of them on the bridge, and they're doing that whole battle as long with the original crew, and then they kind of pass on. That's like a passing of the torch kind of thing. I would have been sold. I would have been on board with that 100%. But the problem is I don't care about any of these new characters. In fact, in season 2, we're probably not going to see most of them anyway, which shows how useless and
What
pointless
about
this.
Gates McFadden?
What's that?
Dr. Crusher.
Oh, is she still around? Isn't she like 600 pounds now or something?
I don't know, but I mean, they could bring her. I mean, fucking like she was the love interest. What happened to her?
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, he did end up alone, or with Rafi shouting at him. And
I mean, she was the love interest, and then there was little Wesley Crusher, that piece of shit.
Shut up, Wesley.
So they were going to introduce him in Nemesis. I don't know if you know that. I think
so.
Like, he technically was there.
Nobody's gonna watch a 300-pound rifle for 10 episodes.
Oh yeah, I mean, I will agree. Like Riker, I think Riker probably had to lose a little weight at least to look nice for the show.
Yeah, he looked a little bit like he swallowed the television.
Did you like the meme I sent you, the pizza box, Riker's Pizza?
Yeah, yes, that was pretty cool.
Because I'm watching this and I'm just like, why does it matter that he's making pizza? And he goes, "Oh, do you want to say I'm making pizza?" Like, and he goes, "Oh, burnt the pizza, burnt the tomatoes. Guess we're gonna eat a pizza with burnt tomatoes." And I'm like,
cancel red alert.
Like, why?
Why
does it matter?
What's the point? Yeah. It's. I think they had an opportunity, just like Star Wars. They had an opportunity to get Princess Leia, Luke, Han Solo, and the Wookiee Chewie all back on the Millennium Falcon. They could have done that, and you could have had the little extras in the back, and they're kind of watching the masters. This is the old team. And well, Walt Disney shit on that, just like CBS has shit on Star Trek Picard, where they had an opportunity to really, pass the torch a little bit. And I feel, and to be honest, I know Patrick Stewart did not want a lot of the crew to come back. So I think there was a little creative tension of some kind. He kind of, I don't know, he wants this to be a swan song or to be the center of attention. But yeah, I think they could have gone a completely different direction and done something a lot better. And just like you, if there was something I wanted to see in this series, I would have loved to see the Enterprise. I would have loved to see the old gang back together in some kind of capacity and, see that play out. And even if they're passing it off to another generation, fine, but do the transition.
I thought they were going to try to bring back Data, to be honest.
And I liked the what they did with Data in this, actually.
The whole thing with him saying, "Oh, I need to have a finite life. I need to actually die."
Yeah, that's Bicentennial Man. I don't know if I think that's also Asimov. That's what it was.
Robin Williams.
Well, the movie is Robin Williams. It's based on the book Bicentennial Man.
Yeah.
Which is exactly that. It's an artificial man, and he's trying to be recognized as human. And in the end, the last thing that he has to do is die. Right. And so I thought I liked that whole arc and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Did I send you the meme Star Trek Picardo?
No, I didn't see that. What's that?
So there was someone took Robert Picardo, the doctor from Voyager.
Oh yes.
And it's him like awkwardly looking into the camera, and it's just a Star Trek Picardo. And I'm like, I would watch the shit out of that.
Yeah. He's been a busy actor because I think he's been in every television sci-fi movies for like the last 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, I liked him in Stargate, which was good.
Stargate Atlantis and Battlestar Galactica and Eureka. That man has been busy. And then he ended up on Star Trek. So it's because it's all shot in Vancouver in Canada. So the actors just kind of bounce around from set to set.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
Man, I'm surprised we did a whole hour and a half of this.
Well, not quite an hour and a half, but I think we're good there. Anything you wanna kind of close out with? I don't know.
Not really.
Are we
Yeah,
going to do one of these for Star Wars?
no, no, it's. I'm just. I mean, as much as I, have liked the better movies of them, I just it didn't. I'm not much of a fan of it to really want to devote too much. Like, if
Sure.
they when I'm guessing when they come up with new movies when we go watch them, we'll talk about them as they come out. But
There
I'm
are
not.
some movies we missed. We were supposed to do Joker. We never discussed Joker.
Thought we did.
No, we were supposed to do like a full on because you saw it and I didn't. And then I went to see it and then we took the hiatus during Christmas.
Oh shit.
And we never did the Joker. So to our fans, listeners, including Terrence, if there are shows you want us to discuss, let us know. Put some comments below, send us an email for the
Gotta go
podcast
watch it.
listeners. Yeah, find us on our Facebook and our other pages. Let us know. Let
Right.
us know. We'd love
Right.
that.
But anyways, so of course,
Plug our sponsor.
plug our sponsor.
You should plug our sponsor.
Tactical
Good
Soap.
time. From the Klondike Soap Company.
From the Grande Soap Company. It is the best soap that I've ever used. Anyways, they have a second edition of all their soaps. They have Bond, Maverick, and Durden. I recommend getting the 3-pack. It's really good stuff. So what's nice about it is I don't get into any woo-woo like, oh, this, essential oil crystals and nonsense, but this is natural stuff. It doesn't have any chemicals in it that could mess with any hormones, any just stuff like testosterone stuff that can mess up with you. Also just drying out your skin. This stuff doesn't do that. It cleans, but it doesn't dry out your skin. Plus you smell good. So if you ever need to like take a quick shower and you don't have cologne, this stuff is a really good way to substitute for that. Unless, of course, you want to get cologne, but that's a whole other thing. Anyways,
It's also pheromone.
There's pheromones in it. I don't know if it's necessarily scientific on that end. I've tried looking into the pheromones. I've heard guys say, typical guys that use it have a leg up when it comes to success with women. Some guys say you need a little bit of game to like it's a compliment. Doesn't supplement you.
Right. It's not going to get you to tang automatically.
Yeah, you're not gonna like put this stuff on your skin, walk outside, and a million women show up.
Live the Bilzerian life.
Exactly. Now, if Dan Bilzerian used this, it'd probably help him quite a bit. Anyways, he would have a noticeable change. But go to their website, which is you can look up the Grondike Soap Company. Focus.
There's no soap in there.
I know there's no soap. This is the one I started to use. I'm just, you go to the Grondike Soap Company, which is, or you go to tacticalsoap.com.
Yeah, Grondike.
And you purchase anything. Put in the anything they have there. I think they have some apparel too. But you purchase the soap. I'd say probably try the first, the new one, then get the new ones, or buy all of them. Put in the promo code 10K Rum, which is 10K. RUM.
Yeah, the letter K.
Yeah, the letter K. So 10K Rum, all one word, no spaces, and you get 10% off.
Awesome.
And they ship anywhere. But it is obviously better for our US listeners to get it because it's cheaper that way. Because if you're shipping anywhere else, yeah. So do check that out. But anything else, Brooke?
No, I think we did good. Glad to knock out another episode. I know we've been pent up with all this Picard energy that we just had to release.
We missed it yesterday. We were like, oh shit, we spent a whole episode talking about the virus again.
We did touch on the Trump box and a couple other things. So if anybody missed that, go back and check episode 86 that we did yesterday.
Yep.
And definitely. I think we're good. Right. What do you think?
We're good. So thank you everyone for joining us, of course. We will see you guys next week.
Thanks for watching, everyone.